you're welcome to today's episode of the Taas Business Show in collaboration with iGambia. My name is Just Ibe, and I am the president of the Association of African Startups. Our organization is focused on equipping startups with the resources they need to grow sustainable business. Our guest today is one that I'm very fascinated about. Though a very young African decided that he was not going to look for the average secular job. He's going to get into providing value for the African continent. And we are going to be meeting him in a few minutes. Thank you once again for every one of you who have engaged with every single one of our episodes. Thank you for every single one of you who have become members of the Association of African Startups. It just goes to show that we at the Association of African Startups and iGambia are doing something phenomenal for the startups in Africa, and that's why everyone believes in what we do. Today, we are going straight into today's interview, and our guest is Mr. Adetayo Adebomi. Adetayo, welcome to the Taas Business Show. Can we meet you, please? Tell us about yourself.
Oh, thank you very much. I greet everyone watching me right now. My name is Adetayo Adebomi, and I am the CEO of Tayemorin Ventures, where we produce Tayemorin custard powder. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that intro. He says he is the CEO of Tayemorin and they produce tasty and quality custard powder. So before we go into today's questions, I first want to ask, Adetayo, tell us, how did you start this business? Considering the fact that you're a young graduate, you graduated 2019. Most young graduates will be looking for jobs, but you decided you're not going to get a job. How did you identify that this was a niche you wanted to get into? How did you start? Give us the gist. We want to know.
Well, thank you. Yes, I like that. Well, I didn't find custard. I believe it found me. Yes, because it started long time ago. I've had this passion of being an entrepreneur while I was in university then, because I just don't know what happened. Before we had this dream of being a doctor, being a lawyer. We have the passion, we have a dream of being a professional person then. But while I was studying, I don't know, some way, somehow, I just had the passion of wanted to be an entrepreneur. But I didn't do any business in school. I had the passion of how to be an entrepreneur. In what area, what field, I had no idea right then. But I knew, okay, I was going to be an entrepreneur. So during my National Youth Service Corps, 2018, 2019, that when I found custard. It was part of the product I've written down a long time ago. I remember when I was young, once in a while when we have this custard, we call it Ogioyimbo. Yes, Ogioyimbo, the white man's pap. Yes, no local pap, we made them call the custard the white man's pap. Yes. So I believe somehow I would like to know more about this custard. When I was growing up, I haven't forgotten about it then. I never knew I would come across it again. So some way, somehow, it was written down in my journal. I had the notes where I've written things I would like to try to become an entrepreneur, even though they were not in my field, even though I had no idea about them. I've written a lot of them down right then and there. So while I finished my NYSC call, what next was the challenge? What next was the challenge? What would I do? Then I took my notes where I've written everything I'd like to do. I streamlined them down to where I could start from. Yes, I could streamline them down. Okay, let me start from somewhere. That was when I started. Okay, let me start with custard. Then I started my movement. Then I started my plan. I said what I could do, how I could begin with the custard powder. So it began.
Thank you very much, Adetayo. I find your story fascinating because I remember the first time I attempted to do business, the first time I attempted to do serious business. So I started doing business when I was 14, 15. But the first time I attempted serious business was my first year in university. And I can understand how it feels to be an entrepreneur at heart, even when you just graduated and your family may think you need to go get a job. So I like the fact that you had written out a lot of things that you could potentially do, but you started to knock out what you don't think you can start now, considering what you had, and you looked for the one that was not too difficult to start, and you decided to start with it. I like that. And he said to do custard powder. By the way, the name of his brand is Tayemorin Custard Powder. He's new, we're new, Okay, we're just entering into the market. Those are the things we're going to be talking about today. Tell me, what were the challenges you faced in starting this business? I want to know all of it, because there's a young entrepreneur listening somewhere, or even a young undergraduate or a young postgraduate who is saying, I have ideas just like this young man. I want to know what were the things he struggled with, just in case if I find those things, I know that they are not necessarily bad. They are going to get out so that I can eventually grow. So tell me, I want to know some of those things that you encountered.
Okay, thank you again. Challenges. Um, I wouldn't say money was my major challenge, unlike every other person, because I believe for you to have money challenge, then you must have at least know what you want to do. But right then, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So money wasn't my first challenge. My challenge was the courage to start. Was my first challenge. I had the challenge of how will I start. Yes, I had that challenge as my first place. So what I did then to overcome that challenge was I made a sample with my little savings that I had then. I made a sample. The first person I was able to convince was my dad. After my dad, some of his friends too. And you know, the one thing, nobody will buy your dream without seeing your labor. So my first labor was the sample I made. I had the sample I showed him. It was like, wow, this is like similar one that you do take. Or there's the popular one in the market which you do take. There's this tastes similar to it. And then, well, this one I made myself. So he bought the idea. Then I've gotten my first approval. My first approval to be an entrepreneur. Then after one stage after stage, without crossing every obstacle, then money came in. I had no money. Remember, I wasn't working, no stream of income for me, but little savings, those I was able to convince, little support I could get with what they could see, not just fear, but what they could see, I was able to convince people, and I was able to overcome little challenges like that.
I want to stop you in your track, Adetayo. You're such a brilliant entrepreneur. You're such a. I can almost tell that there's a lot we need to extract from you today. He said some particular things here. He said he had a challenge convincing his folks that this is what he wants to do. More like he needed to test his proof of concept for it to be even accepted in his immediate environment. And so, after going to learn how to actually produce this custard, remember, he didn't have any prior experience as a custard producer. He was just a fresh graduate from school. So, after learning it, he did his first product and took it to his dad's friend. His dad friend made the custard and said, it tastes like the popular one. I won't even know that there's a difference. That means there's a proof of concept. That means someone who is not necessarily certified as a producer of these things has gone to acquire a skill, is able to put it into practice. I was able to get a consistency that nice and acceptable in the market by the first person. He knew he had a proof of concept. And at that point, a business was established because the man started to ask, so what do you need? How can we help? What plans do you need to put in place? I'm saying this and expanding it because there's a young African somewhere who is just grappling with the idea. You are not going to turn that idea into a business if you do not start. If you do not start. And your proof of concept just needs to be accepted by one person. The minute one person feels this is okay, convinced that that thing is okay, you have a market. That means you have 1 million more persons like him or her that will generally love what it is that you do. I want to talk to everyone who is an African in Africa and in the diaspora. And this is me speaking as somebody who exists because startups must be nurtured to be able to build our economy. Just in case you didn't know, 50% of the economy of the African continent is driven by entrepreneurs. That means these guys, if they are the most honest, we can push that GDP, we can push that percentage to even 55, 60, even 70. Where am I going with this? We have in our hands resources that need to be harnessed, that needs to be leveraged to produce more. So by this talk, I'm calling on well-meaning Africans who believe that they want to be a part of investing in young Africans. In the Association of African Startups, one of our strategic goals in 2021 is to give $5,000 to 5,000 entrepreneurs. That's one of our strategic goals for 2021. We are definitely depending on well-meaning Africans who want to be a part of this journey. He's a young man. There are young Africans all over the continent today who, with just a little amount of money, can be able to go weather small storms, brand awareness, market penetration, even branding, things as basic as that, or even advertising budget, things as basic as that will just give them working capital to be able to move from that startup and struggling phase to even begin to attract customers for themselves, thus keeping their business afloat before we now talk about scalability. So I'm calling on well-meaning Africans who believe that the future of Africa is something to go by. Then you need to be a part of those who are contributing to helping them grow. Men like Adetayo, men like all the other interviewees that we have interviewed, and so many African entrepreneurs who are listening to me today require our support. Access to capital is such a huge problem, but we are no longer going to depend on the government. And that's why I'm saying this here publicly. We are no longer going to depend on the government. The government cannot help us create all of these things across board. We, the private sector, we individuals need to get on board and together be able to pour into the younger generation if the future is anything to go by. And I can almost hear somebody saying, wait, are you saying younger generation? Aren't you young? Yes, I'm young. But I like to look at the younger generation as my brothers and sisters. And that's why this is so important to me, the vision of Taas and the vision of iGambia. So if you feel like you want to be a part of this, all you need to do is reach out to either us at the Association of African Startups or iGambia so that we can begin to contribute and raise the funds for the 5,000 entrepreneurs we want to give $5,000 at the end of 2021. This really go a long way in helping young men like Adetayo and all the other interviewees and all the other startups that are listening to us across the African continent. So Adetayo, I just let's quickly say that in response to your capital challenge, because I see that of all the people who have interviewed is the same problem. That's why I put this out. Right? Now coming back to the other question. Can you tell us exactly what are your business goals in terms of market expansion? What markets do you want to enter into right now?
Our market are major markets where food products are being sold. Where food products are being sold is our major market where we need to enter. Locally, internationally, that's our market. And we have a goal to expand. Though right now our market size is small, but we still have a goal to expand more than we are right now. I would like to give the brief history, a story of how I gained little access to the market. I started from my locality. I had a chance or opportunity. My first outing was in my church. There's a story behind it. So after the opening, I had to discuss with those who own small shops, as we can call it, where they sell. Let me supply. And luckily for me, majority of them bought the idea. That was the first place I started with. I didn't start with the full market. Now I have no money to venture to that. So I started from there, and little by little, I'm expanding to the next phase of it. Yes, exactly. So that's the basic thing from the local market, and we hope to get larger and larger thereafter.
Fantastic. So he wants to get into local markets, supermarkets, any market where there are consumables, because it's easy to sell anything that people eat, really, right? And this is one of the interviewees we had in the previous episode also has something that's consumable. That means if you're anywhere also in the world and you feel like you want to be a distributor of this custard that he has, edible custard, then you can also reach out. One of the things I was also mentioned about this young man is custard is the first thing, because as a young entrepreneur without access to capital, he decided to start his hands on what he could lay his hands on. That's the first product. There are going to be other things that would come up as he grows in the business, of course, when there's access to capital. Now, there's something else I want to also ask. How are you leveraging the digital platforms to be able to push your product? I know that for you to be able to be profitable, you need to do a lot more wholesale than retail. But let's even talk about the digital platform. How are you positioning on the digital platform to be seen by the people who are your end users?
Our leverage on digital platform. Well, we're in the 21st century, and anybody who is not on social media is missing behind. We're on major platform on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. Yes, on major platform for now. And we tend to promote ourselves to create more awareness with this our platform. Like this platform we are using now, on this your platform, we tend to is using to promote us, and we tend to grow higher, to grow larger as well. So we tend to create adverts on digital platform, though we've not started yet due to some factors, but sooner in the coming months we should have started. We are taking our time. We don't want to jump the bridge. We are taking our time little by little. So we tend to use the digital market to make more awareness of our products, more awareness of what we do. Yes, thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. You have said just one part of this. Maybe by the next interview, we're going to get somebody who is a digital marketer to come on this show and talk to us about digital marketing, social media marketing, so that startups across the continents can actually learn the key components you must put in place if you want to be visible as a new business, especially in Africa. There are key indices that you must put in place if you want to be seen, because it's bad enough that the market is competitive, right? The big brands are not even going to give space for you to come and take. They are not even going to shift for you to even take a little space. They're struggling for the same market that you're struggling. That means we, as
Exactly.
young entrepreneurs in Africa, must have clear-cut strategy on how to enter into the market and get a share, no matter how small that share is. So, our partners at iGambia, I think we need to work together to make sure that at least a digital marketer or a social media marketer comes on this show and talk to us, everyone collectively, so that everyone listening can learn 3 or 4 components that they can run with immediately to position their businesses across board. So many of you have grandiose ideas, just like this young man. He said he had a list of things that he could potentially do as a business since he was in school. When he finished school, he was faced with, okay, so I have a list. Which of them can I start? And he went back to that list and looked for the one that he could start immediately. It's the same principle for a lot of people who are going to be listening, who necessarily are waiting on the job that they are going to look for. While you are waiting on your dream job, start with what you have. Africa is a very fertile ground now, both for products, for services, for creatives, whoever you are, whatever innate abilities you have, whatever acquired skills you have. Africa is very fertile. The wealth in this land is a lot. And shared prosperity is no longer a thing of the past. It's there for you to pick, harness, and then share across board. So everyone who's listening to me today, Africa is rising, but we need you to be able to build the Africa that we deserve. And that means that you must start with what you have, where you have, and start now. We are rooting for you. We are counting on you. And until we come again on the show, make sure you stay glued.
Good day, everyone watching. Good day, viewers. My name is Adetayo Adebomi, and I am the CEO of Tayemorin Ventures. We produce tasty and nutritious Tayemorin custard powder. We're also located in Lagos, Nigeria. Here is the sample of our products. Here on my left hand, I have the 500-gram Tayemorin custard powder, so nutritious and tasty. Yes, and here is the 2 kg, the family size. Here I call it the student size, and here is the family size, 2 kg, family size, student size, and it's milk flavor.
Just to say before we end today's session, in order for you to be a part of what is going on these interviews, you too feel like you want to be interviewed, you want your story to be heard, you want your products and services to be seen, all you need to do is click on the link in the description box so that you can become a member of the Association of African Startups, and you too can be grafted to become a member of the Association of African Startups. Then you would have an opportunity to be featured on this platform for the entire world to see you, hear you, know you, and possibly be a part of what you have going on in your business. Thank you once again to iGambia for making this possible for our dream to showcase startup entrepreneurs across Africa to come to pass. We say a very huge thank you to you. And until we come again your way in our next episode, stay glued. Share this video, like this video, comment on this video, call your friends and relatives abroad to come and see what's going on in Africa, because it is our Africa and we are responsible to build our Africa. Thank you all so much, and I love you all very much. Bye.